Daniel Desnoyers was a young man who struggled with depression and psychosis, mental health issues that show no physical symptoms but take a deep psychological toll on those that they afflict. Daniel did the right thing. He purchased health insurance through the New York health insurance marketplace from Fidelis, a subsidiary of massive international conglomerate Centena Corporation. In March, Daniel went to the pharmacy to refill his prescription for risperidone, an antipsychotic medication that he needed. He was informed by the pharmacy that he no longer had health insurance, and the 1-month refill would cost him $250. Now, to some people, $250 may not seem like a lot of money, but to Daniel, it was. And according to a 2018 study by the Federal Reserve, 40% of Americans would not be able to cover an unexpected $400 expense. Daniel, unfortunately, was one of them. So he did not buy the medicine, and he began to ration his antipsychotic medicine, taking it every other day until he could get his insurance back. He contacted his provider, Fidelis, at the beginning of April when he learned that they had canceled his plan because he missed a $20 payment. Fidelis didn't immediately reinstate the plan. Instead, the company informed him that his coverage would not resume until May 1st. This meant another month without a refill of his prescription, another month without the medicine Daniel needed to function. His ration of medicine had run out. On April 9th, filled with thoughts of suicide, a listed side effect for antipsychotic drug withdrawal, Daniel superglued his seatbelt shut, posted a farewell message on Facebook, and drove his truck into the river, ending his life. Daniel Desnoyers died at the age of 29 because he was late paying $20 to a corporation that pulled in more than $60 billion in 2018. Something is deeply wrong in this country, where we let a young man die because he cannot afford medicine that he needs, and when his insurance is taken away because of a $20 missed payment. Daniel died because we have a system that puts profits over patients, a healthcare system that does not guarantee basic care for all people is a healthcare system that is broken. Medicare for all could have prevented Daniel's death, and it could prevent the death of so many others. Lloyd Doggett's pharmaceutical bill that would hold these pharmaceutical companies accountable could have prevented Daniel's death. 28 million Americans are still uninsured, and millions more are saddled with high deductibles and high premium plans, which lead them to forego the care they need. Medicare for All is the plan that will guarantee every American the basic care that they have a right to. Daniel Desnoyers wasn't a perfect man. He didn't lead a perfect life, but he tried. And our nation owes it to him and others like him to make sure that they have the medicine they need to live with dignity.
This is freshman Congressman Ro Khanna recounting one of the thousands of stories just like this one, in which Americans are at the mercy of insurance companies whose sole objective is to make money at the hands of those they're supposed to serve. And the responsibility falls on Republicans for refusing to even consider fixing our system, for predicating their legislative agenda on not only refusing to consider Medicare for all, but for attempting to repeal Obamacare dozens and dozens of times. Republicans were so hell-bent on erasing Obama's legacy that they even attempted to repeal the ACA, which was the only legal protection for those who have pre-existing conditions, with no replacement in sight. Luckily, that insane effort didn't pass thanks to John McCain's famous vote on the Senate floor. Think about that though. While Democrats are advocating for Medicare for all to get more people insured, Republicans are trying to undo the only protections that Americans are guaranteed. Healthcare was the #1 issue for voters in the 2018 midterms, an election cycle that saw Democrats take the House by the biggest margin in American history. If that's not a mandate for lawmakers to fix this awful system, a system that will bankrupt you if you dare get sick, I don't know what is. So no matter how many times Trump and his sycophants try to fearmonger about the dangers of socialism and other ridiculous strawmen, the fact is that the United States is the only industrialized country in the world that doesn't view healthcare as a right. We're also the richest country in the history of the world, so it seems a little difficult to square those two things. In fact, the World Health Organization ranked the world's countries in terms of the best healthcare, and the United States didn't even break the top 10. Or 20. Or 30. It came in at number 37. That's our shining, perfect system, right there between Costa Rica and Slovenia. So while Republican lawmakers continue to scare everyone into thinking that we'll all just keel over and die if we dare look to other countries whose systems work better, keep in mind that America doesn't lead in any category. In fact, we have the highest infant mortality rate in the industrialized world, and we're second to last in life expectancy. We rank last on every measure of cost-related access. We're last on efficiency of our system, with the most time and money being spent on burdensome insurance bureaucracy and duplicative medical testing. And we're dead last in terms of equity, as Americans with below average incomes either aren't able to afford care or wait an exorbitant amount of time for it compared to higher income Americans. And yet every top-rated country in the world guarantees healthcare for its citizens. And shockingly, they haven't devolved into Venezuela, which by the way failed because it's a petrostate, not because it's socialist. But regardless, the ones with the best healthcare are generally democratic and capitalist countries. Only their tax dollars go toward keeping their own citizens healthy and alive. But we've decided that our privatized system of healthcare is just right, and so your access to life-saving drugs is in the hands of someone who wants to make sure it's financially advantageous for them before you can use it. And for some reason, Republicans want to make sure it stays that way. And I'm not sure whether it's because they're relying on campaign donations from healthcare executives, or don't want to co-sponsor Democratic legislation, or simply don't care so long as they have healthcare for themselves and their families. Maybe it's all three. But right now, when Americans like the one in Ro Khanna's story are committing suicide because he missed a $20 payment, and others are groveling for spare change on GoFundMe, there's no valid argument against Medicare for all, besides pure, unadulterated greed.